Grade 10, Chapter 2. Nelson Mandela, Long Walk to Freedom. Long Walk to Freedom is the autobiography of Nelson Mandela, who was the former South African president. This article is for Nelson Mandela's Long Walk to Freedom. The chapter is an extract from his autobiography. This chapter includes the description of the inauguration ceremony and citations from his speech and about his journey to bring freedom in his country. Being a freedom fighter and a social worker, he motivated the Black Americans to stand united and fight for their freedom, that is apartheid. In South Africa, a brutal practice named apartheid was very popular in those days. It referred to the discrimination between people on the basis of their race and color. It was one of the most brutal societies in which dark-skinned people were deprived of their basic rights. This lesson gives us an overview of the struggles of Mandela for bringing about a change in the mindset of the people and making them understand the meaning of unity. A Long Walk to Freedom is all about the struggle of South Africa for its freedom. On May 10, 1994, Nelson Mandela had taken the vow as the first black president of South Africa, and therefore it was becoming a new democratic country. Nelson Mandela took the oath as the first black president on that day. Many dignitaries from different countries had come to be a part of most significant day. In his speech, Mandela thanked all those dignitaries and assured his countrymen that his country would never ever experience the same suppression of one by the other, that is, the white over the black. Democracy has been established in South Africa. As a result, a government of no discrimination was also established. In this chapter, as it is an extract, we get to know how Nelson Mandela motivated and inspired many Black Americans to fight back when they were discriminated and brutally harassed by the white. It was not to provoke them to take revenge, but it was to stand strong and raise their voice against the injustice. Here, he wanted to be an inspiration, a role model for them, and inspire them in such a way so that they can be united and live as a countrymen together with love and harmony. He wanted the people that they must learn to hate first, because if they hate them, they can be taught to love, as love comes from the opposite circumstances. He also says that a brave man is not that who does not feel afraid, but who conquers it. In life, a man has two major obligations. First, towards his family, to his parents, to his wife, and to his children, and second, on the other hand, obligation towards his country. He said so because he wanted the people and the community to be strong and firm as a united nation. Everyone fulfills his duty as per his inclination and interest. This is what he felt. But it was very tough to fulfill in like a country so very underdeveloped that when Nelson Mandela becomes the first president, he feels that as an adult he understood that his freedom was only an illusion as a child. In fact, he was the slave of exploitation. He also understood that not only he was a slave, but his other family members were also. This is how he thinks about his childhood, and he feels that as a child he did not understand the meaning of freedom. He only thought about his freedom as personal freedom. He wanted to be a free man and enjoy the simple life. But later on, when he grew up, he realized that he had to fight for the freedom of his family and his countrymen, and he got to understand the real meaning of freedom when he grew up. Thus, the oppressor is as much a prisoner as the oppressed. This is what he understood later on. The oppressor too is not free. He concluded so. Why did he say so? Because he felt that the brave man is not the one who does not feel afraid, but he is the one who conquers that fear. Mandela said that every man has his duties towards his country and community too. So, through this extract, we understand that he had sacrificed his life and he understood that freedom for his countrymen was equally important than anything else in his life. Apart from this, you also come across different details and information about how the black Americans were suppressed and oppressed and how they had to live in pitiable conditions. But on the inauguration day, when Nelson Mandela gave his speech on 10th May, it dawned as a bright day, and many world leaders had been coming to the author to pay respect to him, made him realize that they were now free, free from oppression and apartheid. The place of inauguration, the inauguration ceremony took place in a big open building in Pretoria. Here, the South Africa's first democratic non-racial government was to be formed. The swearing-in ceremony on that day, the author, who was really satisfied with what was taking place, was in the company of his daughter Zenini. Mr. De Klerk was first sworn in as second deputy president. Then Thabo Mbeki was sworn in as first deputy president. It was the author's turn then. He was sworn in as the president. He pledged to obey and uphold the constitution. He also pledged to devote himself to the well-being of the people. The author addresses as he spoke of the newborn liberty. He thanked all the international guests. He said that they had come there to be with his countrymen. It was a common victory for justice, peace, and human dignity. He pledged to liberate his people from poverty, suffering, and discrimination. Thus, we can conclude that it was the author's thoughts on that day, that is the day of inauguration, that has made the history.